I'm a 25-year-old female living in a smallish but heavily populated downtown area in Florida. I don't really enjoy the whole downtown scene, due to the fact that I've had many friends get roofied and or meet just straight up creeps, so I don't really meet new people. Plus I have a really cute dog who I would much rather spend my time with. But one night, I was around 7 p.m. I was stupid bored and I decided to download Tinder. I had been on and off the app for years, just seeing it as a game when I was bored. I matched with someone I went to high school with and decided to go meet up with them for some tea to catch up, around 9 p.m. that same night. Somehow, that's not the bad part. I ended up leaving around midnight and decided it would be so much easier to just take a toll road back to my apartment. I decided to give my dad, who lives in a time zone that's 3 hours behind where I live, a call since it was late and I was getting kind of tired while driving. About 15 minutes later, I finally see the exit that I need to take and tell my dad that I'm just about home and that I'll talk to him later. I emerge into the exit ramp lane, preparing for the slight right curve on the road, before you get to the street light at the end of the ramp when I saw someone running towards my car and waving their arms around. Now mind you, I'm going about 30 to 35 miles per hour on this exit ramp, which may not seem like much, but when someone is running towards your car at 12:30 a.m., it feels more like you're doing 90. I turn my high beams on in case he can't see me, and try to move over a lane so I don't hit this dummy. I suddenly get worried that maybe it's some drunk kid who crashed his car and needs help or something, so I stupidly, I know, pull over to the emergency lane. I locked up my doors and I made sure that all of my windows were rolled up before he approached my car, just in case this was some sort of trap that I had fallen into. The guy was somewhere around 21 years old. He didn't seem like the aggressive type. I worked in a behavioral hospital and had been around very aggressive individuals before, and had been threatened numerous times, and I got no feeling of this from him. He had one of those 21 plus wristbands on from the bars and clubs downtown, so I knew that he had to be drunk, but I also noticed his eyes. They were huge, kind of cliche, but like a deer caught in headlights huge. He was also profusely sweaty. I mean, it is Florida, but it was midnight in October, so it was sort of cool out for once. He looked incredibly panicked and tried to open the passenger side door. I had already locked them. Hallelujah. I asked if he was okay and if he was hurt. He said he couldn't hear me and asked if I could just let him in the car and that he would explain. I rolled down the passenger side window about an inch and said, "No." He kept repeating that he doesn't want to scare me and was begging me not to call the police. He explained to me that he was downtown, about 6 blocks away from where we currently were, and his friends left him and he doesn't have a way to get home and his phone is dead. I started feeling kind of bad for the guy and asked if I could call someone for him, but the number he gave me didn't pick up. Something switched in him. He got increasingly more confused and kept trying to get in my car, begging me to take him home. "I know you live over by me, Maria. You know me, Maria. You know me through Anthony. Maria, just take me home, please." Okay, so my name is not Maria, and I don't know any Anthonys. But he sounded so convincing that it made me take a hard look at him because, I mean, dang, maybe I do know him. But I didn't, and I tried convincing him of this fact. But he just started crying and banging on my car, becoming more agitated. I started getting a bad feeling and asked him to please get off my car because I'm going to leave. He backed away from my car and I proceeded down the exit ramp. Somehow it didn't end there. I get to the stoplight at the end of the exit ramp, and to my dismay, it's red. I had a second to think about what had just happened, and decided it would be in the best interest of the guy to call the cops, just in case he was to get hurt. since he was literally running towards cars on the exit ramp of a busy toll road at midnight wearing dark-colored clothing. The light turns green as I'm on the phone with a 911 operator as I see this guy running towards my car in my rearview mirror. My heart fell to my ass. I explained the situation to the operator and informed her that he is running after my car and I'm just trying to go home. He tells me to go the opposite way from my apartment, so he won't know where I live and to continue driving. So I listen to her and give her a description of him while driving on a completely empty road, with him still full on chasing my car. At one point, I had to stop because there was a car in front of me at a stop sign. Unfortunately, he caught up with my car and proceeded to bang on the back windshield. He started screaming at me to please stop and to let him in the car. Thankfully, I was able to pull onto a different street and lose him. The operator had heard everything that was going on and asked for my information. She assured me that the cops were on their way to his last known location, and as long as he's not still following me, then I'm okay to go home. I never found out what happened or who the guy was. I think that he was drunk but also ended up taking something else which caused him to act like that. I've never seen a person who was just drunk with eyes that dilated, or that confused but also able to fully sprint towards the car. Regardless, let's never meet again. I've been reading this subreddit for a while and this is my first post. This happened to me about 2 years ago, but I think about it a lot still. Even to this day, I get so scared when I think about it and what might have happened if my dad wasn't there. Obligatory comment about how I'm on mobile, and I'm sorry if there's anything like formatting issues. Also, I'm not the greatest storyteller, so please bear with me. During this time, I was going to grad school in Texas and visiting my family in Kansas City. I had just finished my visit and was driving back to Texas. I started my drive and about an hour in, I got a flat tire. I called my dad and he told me to call roadside assistance and that he would be there with the AAA card as soon as he could. He got there, roadside assistance put my spare on, and we went off to the nearest Walmart to get all my tires replaced. The nearest Walmart was about 20 miles away, as we were in a pretty rural part of Kansas. I was following my dad, driving about 55 miles per hour since I was on a spare. There weren't a lot of cars on the highway, basically just me and my dad. My dad was a little bit ahead of me, so I don't think it was apparent that I was following him. Somewhere along the drive, I noticed a dark-colored SUV behind me. He was flashing his lights at me, swerving onto the shoulder and then back into his lane, accelerating so he was really close to my car and then he would fall back a bit. From the time that I noticed him, he did this for about 4 or 5 miles, which is a really long time when you're in the moment. I was about to call my dad because I felt like this was incredibly strange. Like I said, it was a pretty rural area and there were no cars around. If this guy was upset that I was driving slowly, he could have just gotten into the left lane and passed me, but he continued to flash his lights, tailgate me, and swerve onto the shoulder. At this point, my dad saw what was happening, took an exit, and parked on the shoulder of the exit. I followed. This exit was not the one that we needed to take. It was a rural exit onto a gravel road, and I don't think it's used very frequently. Lo and behold, the guy followed me as well. I pulled behind my dad, who was already out of his car with his arms in the air saying, "What the heck?" At this point, I think the guy finally realized that I wasn't truly alone. He slowed down, looked at both of us and hesitated for a second, and then he took a hard left onto the gravel road and took off. At this point, I thought about trying to get his license plate, but I was too late. The dust from the gravel road made it impossible to see his license plate. I still kick myself for not looking at his license plate sooner. I know this post may not be scary as some others, but this situation really scared me. We called the police to report it, but there's not much they could do since we didn't even have a license plate number. However, I did learn that if I'm ever in this situation again, to call Highway Patrol, not 911. When you're on the highway, you travel through so many jurisdictions that it's better just to call Highway Patrol directly. It's maybe common sense, but it wasn't something that I had thought of before. Since that day, I've had the number for Highway Patrol in my phone in case I ever need to use it. So stranger who was trying to get me to pull over. Let's not meet. I never thought I would have anything to post here, but here I go. This literally just happened, so I'll try to keep this as short and organized as possible. But I apologize if it's neither of those two things. I'm a 29-year-old female, and my partner is a 23-year-old female. We are back in our hometown, visiting our family for about a week. It is a very small, isolated town in the middle of nowhere, and basically in the middle of the woods. While we were here, she wanted to meet up with an old high school friend who still lives in the area. We'll call him Kyle. So we meet Kyle at the beach, and right away, he's acting super weird, making jokes about having a three-way with us, and just making a bunch of unwelcome, overly sexual, gross comments about us. Obviously, we're unfortunately used to this stuff to a certain extent, but coming from someone who was supposed to be her good friend, it was extra annoying. So me and my girlfriend are shooting each other panicked looks the whole time. Once he's out of earshot for a second, she says that she's sorry, and that he's never been like this before, and we can make an excuse to leave. When he comes back, we tell him that we want to get dinner at a local bar, but he just asked to join us. We felt awkward, so we end up saying yes. He says he doesn't know quite how to get there, so he follows us. We get there, order drinks and food, and then head out to the patio with the drinks. He makes a few more gross comments, but is generally being way more cool and normal than he was at the beach. We're smoking weed on the patio and just chilling. The food comes quick and we finish it quicker. Now here's where it gets really messed up. So halfway through my first drink, I'm feeling really tired, which makes sense as we've had a long day. I give my girlfriend the signal that I want to go. She makes an excuse that we need to go, but he keeps trying to get us to come to his house. I've got good weed and dabs there and you can meet my cats, blah blah blah. He's being really pushy. We keep saying no and making excuses, that we need to check on her grandpa and so on. We finally get in the car and say goodnight. We had parked next to each other and walk up and into the cars together while saying our goodbyes. When we get in the car, my girlfriend informs me that she wants to stay at the bar, but fake it like we're leaving because she doesn't want to chill with him anymore, understandably. So we're sitting in the car waiting for him to leave first, when he signals for us to roll down the window. What we do when he says his GPS is being funny, and can we lead him to the main road? To be fair, we are out in the middle of nowhere, so that didn't seem too outlandish. So obviously staying behind at the bar was out of the question. So in the car, we were talking about how pushy it was being, and she admitted she feels weird driving back right to her grandpa's house, so we should drive into town until we lose him. He's behind us for a long time, even way after he should have gotten off on his exit. We think it's weird, but weren't sure what to do. So finally, we get onto a 2-lane road and he pulls up next to us, and he's waving a phone, which is clearly my girlfriend's phone, in the window. We pull over, he gives her the phone back, chats for just a few seconds and then leaves in a hurry. Here's the part that makes my skin crawl. We know she had her phone. I saw her put it in her fanny pack, which was on the table, along with my phone and her weed, a few minutes before we left the bar, as we were preparing to leave. She didn't take it back out. There is literally no way she could have left it at the bar. And more importantly, he got in his car and left the bar at the same time as us, meaning he had to have already had the phone when we were leaving. It's not like we left the bar first and he saw it left on the table or something. He literally had to have been walking to the cars with us and calmly saying goodnight with the phone already in his possession. And now the kicker, apparently, unbeknownst to me. My girlfriend had tasted a very weird bitter taste in her straw at the bar and was already suspicious, especially with how he had been acting. This is why she wanted to stay back at the bar, to get away from him and stay in public where she felt it was safer. So when he walked up to the car to return her cell phone, she very casually and deliberately flashed the knife that she had kept for protection in her jacket. I didn't know at the time that she had done this, so that's why he had left so quickly. Obviously, I was annoyed with her for not telling me her suspicions sooner, but she just didn't want me to panic. I'm really shaken up. A few things are clear. One, he stole my girlfriend's phone, and it seems like he did so that we would be forced to pull over on a dark road in the middle of nowhere. Two, he quickly ended the conversation and left when my girlfriend had flashed her knife. They'd been good friends for almost 10 years. If he wasn't planning on doing something malicious, I feel he would have acted confused about the knife or said something like, "Why are you flashing a knife at me? What is this, a bad movie?" Or something like that. But instead, he just booked it, which tells me he knew exactly what she was doing, reacting to a threat and preparing to protect herself and me. 3. He probably spiked our drinks. My girlfriend noticed a weird taste in her straw right away, and chose not to finish her drink. I finished half my drink and I felt very tired. A few more things. I just don't know how he managed to nab the phone without us knowing or noticing. It doesn't really make sense, but he did. Me and my girlfriend both remember her putting in her fanny pack perfectly. We also have no idea how he could have spiked our drinks unless he was working with the bartender. But we were the ones who had suggested that bar. I don't know exactly how he did it, but I think I know why. And for that reason, my girlfriend's now ex-friend who made creepy sexual comments probably tried to drug us and stole her phone in order to get us alone on a dark road. Let's not meet again. This happened to me the other night and spooked me pretty good, especially with everything that's going on right now. I had spent most of the evening visiting my mom at her house, and at 2:30 a.m., left to go back to my place to get ready for work. I was due in at 5 a.m. I was driving up a major state route that goes through the southeast side of the city we live in, and that also stretches for miles beyond the city limits. The roads were pretty much deserted, and the only other person out with me was a small black Chevy that was following me a little close. Enough for me to take notice but not give it much thought and kept driving, lost in my own thoughts. We came up on an intersection where the road widens a bit, and when it did, the Chevy changed lanes and picked up their speed in order to pass me, to which I thought, good riddance, and get off my bumper. But when we got to the next intersection that was shortly beyond this one, they were still driving beside me and keeping pace with my car. I looked over and saw 4 young guys, late teens to early 20s, all staring at me, and something in my gut told me to floor it once the light changed. I stopped on the gas when the light changed, but instead of leaving the Chevy in the dust, I was horrified to watch in my side mirror as they sped up as well and continued to match my speed. I didn't dare to look at them straight on, but at one point, when they were still beside me, the guy in the front passenger seat opened his window and was shouting and waving something in his hand at me, which I saw out of the corner of my eye, and proceeded to freak out and pound the gas even harder. I called 911 as soon as our little chase started, and had to be transferred to 3 different police departments as they continued to keep pace with me and chase me through 3 different jurisdictions before I finally lost them at a traffic light further north. At one point before they dropped off, they got behind me once again and started playing this little game where they would ride my bumper, drop their speed and fall behind, and then speed back up to being on my bumper again. After they got stuck at the light, I floored it to put some distance in between us, and then made a quick swerve into a side street in a dark neighborhood, and got lost, winding my way through a few more neighborhoods, and eventually ending back up in a jurisdiction of the 2nd Police Department that I had talked to that night. 2 officers agreed to come find me, and I crouched in my little hiding spot with lights and car off, seat reclined so I could duck down. Once the officers showed up, I gave my statement and a description of the car, and the 2 officers agreed to follow me as far as the city limits before turning around. I made it home with no further issues, and 2 out of the 3 police departments issued a bolo for the car. Be safe, guys. It's crazy out there.